Right, good news, John. I hit record to cloud already for you, so I was able to do that. So you shouldn't have to do that. You should just have to just end the recording.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
Make you the host now.
And, oh, I see end. I got an end button down at the bottom. Okay.
Yeah. All right, guys, but good
Novice
luck.
pilot at the wheels. Yeah.
Thanks, Greg.
No problem.
All right, good. Well, thank you all. Sorry for the delay. He's conflicted with another village meeting. They're interviewing people for a position. He's an evaluator, not an interviewee. Okay, so should we get right into the agenda? First of all, the master plan timing. I've checked with both Peter and Michael, and they have heard nothing. And I think it's, in a way, as Greg said, about the TUA and the EMS issue. It's not going to happen until Ken gets enlisted in the office. And then he'll probably have to have a period of time to get familiar with things. So we could, on the one hand, be delayed. On the other hand, we'll see what the status of the briefing papers are. But from what I've heard, people have been making good progress. So we might be able to use this to our advantage and then start distributing the resolutions towards the end of March, which would basically coincide with Ken early days in the office. Okay, shall we go to status of the briefing papers? And Michelle, I'll start. I don't see Larry here, but I'll start with you.
Sure. So in December, I was supposed to meet with April, and I was really looking forward to it. Unfortunately, she had to cancel at the last minute. However, I was able to get a meeting in last Friday, so the Friday that just passed. So it was wonderful. April only spent a little time with me, but she had Adam, I guess. Do you guys know who Adam is? He's the operations manager, and he spent about 2 hours with me walking through the airport and going through the customer experience. So I feel like I really not just have my own understanding of the customer experience, but from his perspective, what he's been working on and what he's already feels he has budget for already in his capital plans every year. But there were certainly things we talked about, improvements that could be made to the airport without changing the footprint and without getting everyone upset, but make the customer experience even better. So it was a great meeting. I haven't had a chance to write up anything yet because it just happened on Friday. Greg attended with me, and so I think he enjoyed it too. And it was really nice. We had Judith stop in, does a lot of the ADA stuff. And, you know, she was telling us on the flights down to Florida, they have about 25 wheelchairs on each flight. So ADA is a big issue for them. Isn't that crazy, the amount? And Florida is their biggest route, most popular, Palm Beach to HPN. So
Wow.
yeah, so it was a great meeting, and I you know, look forward to writing down all the things they shared with me.
And you said the fellow who took you around was named Nick?
No, Adam.
Adam, sorry. Good.
And his title is operations manager.
Okay. And
I got the sense, you know, he reports directly to April.
okay.
And she spent, you know, about 15, 20 minutes with me too.
Okay. I think it's perfectly fine if she passes us off to somebody who has got the subject knowledge.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys know, they have this like secret TSA area by the check-in, which I mean I fly out of there all the time. I didn't even know about this TSA area. Have any of you guys been to it?
No.
Yeah, so
What happens in the secret area?
the secret area they use for overflow when it gets really crowded in the regular TSA area, they redirect people to the secret TSA area. So
Okay.
they've really been doing a lot of cool things behind the scenes to help make the experience better, you know, for all us lucky people that get to use the airport. So
Was there anything they described in terms of initiatives that you disagreed with or that you thought could be a problem going forward? Or did you agree with everything that they were trying to do?
Yeah, everything, you know, sounded in line with what I've heard all of us talk about, that we don't want the airport to expand, you know, but we want it to be, you know, a great experience for those of us that use the airport and without harming our environment and without, you know, doing anything to hurt the neighboring towns. And they're really in line with us on that. So I
Oh,
think it
that's great.
was, yeah, I think it was a good meeting, and, you know, it was a good show of faith that we're not looking to go around them, or, you know, we're looking to just make things better for everybody. So I
And
think it was really
I think
good.
I don't think there's anything wrong with when you write it up, repeating a lot of what Adam told you they were planning to do, because if we are in agreement, it can only help reinforce those plans in terms of budget and in terms of, you know, the master plan process, et cetera. So your write-up and our resolutions that come out of it, I think will be good reinforcement of those plans. So it's not necessarily a bad thing if we don't have anything different to say. If we are just, you know, backing up what they've told you, I think that's a plus as well. We should, you know, embrace that and make sure we include all those good recommendations in our write-up.
That's an
Sure,
That's an
sure.
excellent point, Martha, because we want to both, state a position we want the county to accept, or if the county's already doing it, we want to reinforce that we like what they're doing.
Right. And I think to have the surrounding communities, you know, put their seal of approval on those plans can only help everyone involved, the county and the airport operators, you know, to accomplish that mission, right? So it would be to everybody's benefit to write them up in a positive light.
Right.
And may make some of our other criticisms or more, you know, more pointed comments less
More
Hard for
maybe
them
easier
to
to take,
take.
right?
Yeah,
Get some
yeah.
balance to the overall resolutions if we have some things that are big pluses, and then of course there's always going to be some things that are more negative, but be helpful to have some big pluses. So I think it's great.
Oh, good. Yeah, I think we're really in line with what they're looking to do for the customer experience without growing the airport. And, you know, for those of you who have been there, they've done a lot with using the gateways to the jets, that, you know, they've added a lot of seating there, and they've tried to make it, you know, definitely have more seating to deal with all the people that are there. And they put in a nice window by gate number 1, if anyone's used that gate. So it's all glass when you go down to the jetway. So it really looks, you know, a lot nicer too than just having the brick, you know, gateway. So, you know, they are, you know, trying to do things to make it more pleasant and, you know, better for us all.
Great.
Good. Now, Michelle, when do you think you might be able to produce a paper and a draft resolution?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, by the end of the month, I should be good, because now that I had this meeting, I feel a lot better about just, me just making recommendations. I feel, much, much better. So,
Great, great. Because I'm thinking that if we can all uh, finish our work, or most of it, by let's call it the end of February, then we'd be in pretty good shape. But let's see how the others go. Glad to hear it with you. And if we get there by the end, middle March or something like that, I don't think that's really a big problem, given the changeover in the county administration.
okay,
Okay,
great.
Rich Flood, anything to report on the noise issue?
Yeah. The draft was completed back in October, and circulated for a quick look over. Michael weighed in and he was unbelievably helpful. So it's essentially done now. He was great in helping to decipher some of the stats. Was all the data that I pulled from the county website. And it's about 70 pages, but it's essentially done. I'm finishing reviewing his edits and revisions, and it's in pretty good shape. So we'll have it shortly. And I think it, presents some really strong recommendations for consideration, and some compelling and upsetting stats about increase in noise issues and traffic generating that noise.
Okay.
I noticed an article that just came out this week from University College London, where they did observational study of people living near airports and found increased prevalence of heart disease. Separating out all other factors like body weight and lifestyle, et cetera, they found a significant impact of airport noise on heart disease incidence for people living near airports. It's rather, like you said, some disturbing things. The more we learn, the worse the news gets.
Thank you
I'll
for
forward
sharing
you a
that.
copy of that article just so you have it. Not that you have to incorporate it, but just I think you'll find it interesting.
Well, that would be super. Thank you. I mean, I'm hypersensitive to it now with the newborn. He's been asleep on more than one occasion, and the house has vibrated from a low-flying helicopter, and it's, set him off. So, yeah, really top of mind for me. But it's in good shape, and I think it's a strong piece.
Great.
70 pages, the briefing paper, right? Rich?
Pardon me?
You mentioned a 70-page.
728 pages.
728.
It's about 728 pages. I don't have the final page count, but it's a lot of stats. We've incorporated some graphs and charts as well. Should we trim the additional fat? Is that too long, a 7-page document?
No, 7 pages, you're saying.
7, yeah.
Yeah,
Not
okay.
70, yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
7 pages.
Oh, thank God
78
it's not-
pages.
Thank God it's not 78 pages. Yeah.
I was starting to
Oh,
sharpen my
Yeah,
scalpel.
I'd like to read it. Is that going to be sent around to the whole group or?
Yeah, happy to do that. Happy to do that.
okay.
And would love
Great.
anyone's feedback.
Well, you'll see later on, I've got a proposal for these papers, which basically was my reading of Martha's experience last fall, which I didn't think was as smooth as it could have been. So we'll get on to that and we can talk about it. Next one is Greg and myself. You want to take the lead there, Greg?
Yeah, so we've put together, I think, done some initial research, spoke to a bunch of people, and put together sort of a draft resolution. And I think one of the issues that came out of it is, how much can the fixed-based operators actually control? And so, yeah, so I think we sort of, tried to structure a resolution around encouraging good behavior, things like adhering to the curfew and stuff like that, and thinking about expansion, what that would mean. and how like the county could, you know, if they are going to have FBO expansion, what is that going to look like? And so I guess the next step now is, right, John, trying to get a meeting with April to
Right.
really sort of understand where the county is, what can and can't happen.
Yeah, we also put together an eight page, not 8 page, now I'm making a mistake, an 8 point document listing the issues we would like to talk with April about. And Greg has given it to her, and she said she'll schedule a meeting later in the month, I think. So that could go on. I thought it was useful to let her know what our questions were in advance, so that she might find somebody else should answer them, or she might think she needs to look into them a little bit before she meets with us. But that's what we did, and it kind of to structure the conversation so she didn't think it would be too free floating. But we haven't heard back yet when she wants to have the meeting. Okay, now Martha, we come to you, Nick and Peter Slaktis, who isn't here. And
Yeah, so we did submit questions to April, and Greg sent me her responses. She didn't answer all the questions, strangely. I'm not sure why. But the questions that she did answer were very helpful, and I will, after this call, later this week, incorporate any necessary changes into the papers based on her answers.
okay, and
I guess the one that was the most, I would just add the one that was most surprising, just for the benefit of the committee, was that I asked about the detention basins for stormwater runoff. And what surprised me was, I asked about maintenance, and she said that there is a wildlife hazard management plan that involves removal of invasive species. That's very disturbing to me, because if that's all they're doing is removing invasive species, they're not doing anything to ensure the capacity of those basins is what it needs to be for major storm events. Because it's that vegetation is taking up volume in those basins that we need to have reserved for stormwater in major storms. If you let it fill in with Phragmites and cattails and other things, eventually over time, you're just not going to have that reserve capacity. So, if they're only doing maintenance from a wildlife management perspective, that's a problem.
Well, it's
These
a
are
policy,
these are
it's a
stormwater
policy conflict.
basins, right?
You have a
Pardon me?
policy conflict there, so.
Yeah, I get it. But these should be mowed basins that are kept empty.
we have some detention ponds on our HOA, and we actually have to annually remove things like Phragmites and cattails for just the very reason you mentioned.
Sure.
I wondered, as I heard you say repeat what she said, what she really meant by wildlife. I wonder if she meant the vegetation.
It's called a wildlife hazard management plan. And I think it's just, their main concern is ducks, geese, whatever, getting too comfortable there and then getting in the way of the aircraft, that we know as of recently, it's caused some issues for aircraft. So, it's just a little concerning to me that seems to be the focus of their management efforts.
Yeah.
And I'm going to include that in the write-up, that there needs to be, those basins need to be kept empty. And we saw on our tour that they were not at all empty, very grown in, looked like they hadn't been mowed ever. So, that's just a comment we're going to make.
Yeah. I wondered if it wouldn't be worthwhile, with the questions she didn't answer, just kind of circle back with those questions and ask for clarification on this one, because I don't know why they'd be exempt from the clearing out of the Phragmites and whatnot.
I don't know.
We're
It's, you know,
required to do it.
Well,
yes,
clearly they're trying to avoid having a bird habitat that would,
Right,
a habitat that would attract birds to stay there. So,
right. No, I understand that.
you know, you could ask them to pave them, I guess, but
right.
not
But I
really the
would think
point.
even keeping it a closely mowed depression would prevent that, right? Just an infiltration basin, sand in the bottom, no water accumulates. It should keep the, you know, critters like grasses, tall grasses for hiding. So I would think keeping it closely mowed would help their plan, not hurt it.
Yeah, I don't know, but Canada geese are just cows with wings, so
Yeah.
they like grass.
Yeah.
Do their basins have water generally or only following a storm event?
Only following a storm event is the intent, but
Yeah,
when you don't mow it, you begin to get silt and you get material there and it
right.
holds water longer.
Right. So,
But-
so I'll see if I can circle back. I would have preferred, like you're doing, John, to sit down and have a conversation with her, but I was
I'm
told that,
hoping,
you know, she wouldn't review our papers. And then Greg said the next best option would be just to, you know, submit a list of questions, and that's what I did.
right.
So
Well,
we'll see.
I'd follow up with her for the ones where you know, you can cast it as, you know, some, maybe we overlooked some, and in these, I didn't quite understand where you were going, you know.
Yeah, I mean, some of the questions just weren't answered, period. There were no answers whatsoever. So I don't know why that is.
Because there was nothing provocative about those questions relative to the ones she did answer.
I don't know. I didn't think so, but maybe they were. Maybe I hit a nerve. I don't know.
Greg
But
and I don't
I'll
know yet whether we've asked any provocative questions.
yeah. I'll
Could you
try
tell
to
us
find
like
out.
two of those questions?
Hmm?
Could you
Oh.
tell us two of those questions, for example, just to let us know what they sounded like what kind
Yeah,
of,
sure.
that they wouldn't answer, I'm talking about, the ones that they,
Oh, the
Oh,
ones that that
she
I
did
didn't
not
get
answer,
answered.
right,
Sure.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can tell you. Let's see. So okay, so in the final environmental assessment regarding airport drainage that was done in April 2015, a combined 28 acre feet of expansion was recommended for basins A and B. Was this work performed? If not, any other stormwater improvements since the assessment? Are there any current plans to perform the basin expansion work or make other stormwater management changes? No answer.
I
Pretty
think,
important question.
excuse
No
me, I think that
answer.
is the answer. That's your
The
answer.
is
That's
the
your
answer is
answer.
nothing.
Nothing.
Okay. Well, you know, it would be nice to just answer that, right? And say, confirm that there are no plans. Oh, I asked about the Speedies permit, you know, the discharge permit, which expired back in, oh, when did it expire? Let me just see where the question was here.
Well, it was more than a year ago.
More than a year ago. And I don't think she answered that question.
We
either.
asked her that question when we had the tour, and she said that they were working on putting things together, but she was very
Right, so 6 months later, still no action apparently, so. Yeah, it's that, I said here in our task force meeting in August 24, you said the speedies permit renewal is being negotiated with DEC. Any progress? No answer. So, so I think you're right, you know, probably no answer means no. But, you know, conversation to just get some clarity on what's, you know, happening along, you know, where it stands and whether meetings are planned or when they expect to have the next meeting with DEC about it would just be helpful to understand progress, right? If there has been any.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just speculating here, but from the way you're talking about it, maybe whatever resolution you propose should focus in on some of those issues, you know, and you phrase it like, make sure the detention ponds are adequately sized or something like that. Maybe you're doing that already, but
Yes, it's in the, it's in there, for sure. Those recommendations are already in there,
Okay. good.
basically assuming that nothing had been done, so, so maybe this is just confirmation of that.
Yeah, it sounds that way. So Martha, I had good success with April and her team because I really, look, I'm doing a different topic than you and, I understand the difference, but I really went to her as like a friend, like, I'm here to make things better for you, April, and help your job. So maybe if you need answers on things, maybe there'd just be a way to approach her like, I want to help you to, make these improvements and,
Yeah.
instead of her feeling like, oh my God, I failed, I didn't do these improvements yet.
Yeah,
So
no,
she
I
might
mean,
be
that was the
defensive.
intent, that I really wanted a meeting and not to submit the papers, but Greg said she was not willing to meet. So, John, if John is successful, and I was surprised you were able to meet with her, frankly, because I
Right.
was told she was not going to meet with us. But if John is successful, then I'm gonna maybe try again and give her a call and see if, even just on the phone, she can fill in some of the details.
I got
Or
a
if you want
Zoom
me to
with
help you,
April,
or-
but I was disappointed. I really got nothing from it, but she offered a Zoom and with one of her team members.
Okay. All right.
That's interesting. Because Greg and I have offered either in person or, a Zoom or a phone call, whatever.
Yeah, Greg did not want me approaching her directly for whatever reason. I don't know. He wanted us to go the path of submitting the papers for her to review, and she didn't want to do that. And so the fallback was just to send the list of questions, and that's what we did. I'd much rather talk to her.
Right. Well, it's a
So
couple of
if you're
things.
successful, maybe,
We'll let you know.
yeah, or you can take my list of questions and get answers for me.
Yeah, I think Greg's thought was we needed to have some order to people approaching her. So
Sure.
that's I think the only reason, but we'll see what happens because she is a county employee. I don't quite understand why she wouldn't want to speak with us, right?
Right. And my feeling, to Michelle's point is I do only want to help them with their, initiatives. And if they would like to do more with stormwater on the property and we can, reinforce that through our recommendations, it's great for everyone, right?
All right.
So it's
So
not to
would
be
you like,
critical, it's to support their mission as much as, as to try to criticize it. So.
right. And so Martha, since I just had this good meeting there and I have a good relationship with Adam, maybe I can, have him, be a liaison to get you to April,
Okay.
and we could just position it that you want to help her with the stormwater problem and you just want to speak to her about it. And would that be fine if I said it like that?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay.
Because there may
But I'd like to
actually
just have a conversation.
there may
Yeah,
be some
yeah.
Adam equivalent who's the expert or assigned to deal with the stormwater basins.
Right. Could be somebody else.
Yeah.
Right. But I could ask. Okay.
Okay.
No, it'd be good to know who that person is, Michelle. So I think you're on the right track. Okay, so Juliana's not here, but Rich, I wonder if you and she have done anything about traffic on King Street.
No, I am dead-ended. I will do the best I can. I have several recommendations I'd like to see implemented when I met with April and team on Zoom about this. They were very clear that they didn't think of it as their issue.
Right.
It was the issue of the towns, and I think that was the update that I gave at the last meeting. So I don't want to repeat myself, but yeah, it's
Right.
been frustrating. There's very little insight and zero information available, and they just don't think of it as their issue. So one of the recommendations would be that they reconsider that point of view and implement some traffic studies to get a sense of what the access points are and traffic times commercial traffic, et cetera. But beyond that, that's the best I can do. I, pulled some police reports from Greenwich PD. I just don't have the bandwidth to go to the other towns and pull additional reports and sort through them. But we'll
Yeah.
do the best I can.
I remember we spoke at the very beginning, that may be the toughest issue because, the traffic on King Street, because the airport is, I think they'll just dig in and say it's not our issue. But it's not to say we couldn't have a somewhat separate effort on maybe even a different time schedule, because both Portchester, Rybrook, and Greenwich have an interest in figuring out if something can be done about this issue. So,
Yeah, I can speak for Greenwich at least. They are definitely interested because the streets being used to access the airport are completely inappropriate. So there is an interest. It's just a matter of how do you block that traffic. King Street, you know, I'm told is designated more of a commercial road, so less problematic except for the extent and the traffic count. And on the other municipalities, I'm not quite sure what those issues might be. Be happy to speak to any one of you if you have any additional insight.
yeah, well, Juliana mentioned that from the Portchester perspective, they were focused on an issue really is an airport related. It's speeding along King Street in the school zones. Because there's
Yeah,
several school zones down King Street.
well, I'd be happy to follow up with her again if she wants to contribute additional information. That'd be super.
Okay,
Isn't the big picture issue is what's the best way to move traffic from I-95 to the airport? Because, I mean, 684 is not an issue. 287 is basically come up 684.
right.
And the reason people are cutting through back roads in Greenwich is because they're trying to move primarily from 95 up to the airport.
No, they're coming from all points north on the Merritt Parkway. So it's all traffic heading southbound to access the airport on the Merritt Parkway. That's the cause of most of the issues.
So it's really then just from, you're saying, from the Merritt up to the airport?
Exactly. Instead of what had been used previously, which was King Street to access the county airport, it is now Round Hill Road. Because of Waze and Google Maps, you're saving 1 to 2 minutes, and so all the traffic, including the commercial traffic, is being routed from the Merritt Parkway onto those roads.
Okay, but that's definitely not an airport issue.
Yeah, and they
I
they
tend to
they
agree with April. It's not an airport issue. It's a Greenwich issue.
yeah, but I think the airport should supply some stats and know where the airport users are coming from and how they're getting there. How they do that, I don't know. It's not, my area of expertise, but if there are access points to the airport that can be addressed to mitigate some of this, they should want to participate in some capacity. And, with the hopes that they do want to be a good neighbor.
Hmm.
Well, I'm just trying to think what you're going to end up with as a resolution type proposal. And
Yeah,
it
no, you're right.
sounds
And
like
that's why
you're
it's
just saying
challenging.
the airport should coordinate efforts with the local communities, or Greenwich, Rybrook, and Portchester. I mean, that's really what you're saying is it's just you're asking them to help coordinate.
Well, in addition to coordinate, start providing some statistics and, monitoring traffic flow to and from the airport in some capacity. Whether it's a traffic study or getting a, traffic consultant to do some sort of traffic count to understand how people are accessing it, from where and when. Because right now there doesn't seem to be anything.
Okay, but take that a step further. Okay, so they say 20% from here and 30% from here and 50% from there. What are they going to do next?
The next step would be collaborating with the local municipalities to think about, maybe eliminating some access points, to the airport. For instance, maybe during peak hours, they can prevent access to the airport from making a right turn onto King Street. That would keep people on the Merritt to King Street, instead of getting off and using these winding, narrow, dark country roads. Additional signage could be a recommendation that the airport may want to engage with local communities or the state on the parkways to encourage people to use specific routes to access the airport. April and her team, their recommendation was call Google Maps and Waze. I've gone down that route, and these are public roads, and they're allowed to direct people onto these roads if they choose to.
All right, Rich, I think what my point is I would hate to see this weaken all of our other proposals for issues that the airport can address directly, because this is sort of a vague issue where I just don't understand how you're going to get from point A to point B with the airport contributing.
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, they're not contributing at all, and I think they're obligated to do something. I worked for a museum, and before we expanded that museum, we did a thorough study of the impact of the surrounding roads in the areas, and we understood how people would approach that museum, and how the buses would approach the museum, and where the commercial traffic would be coming from, and how they would access it. For them not to have any of that information or track it at all, I think is irresponsible. But they don't seem to think so. And I don't think it would weaken our other reports. I'm not sure how that would be, but I think it's an issue that should be on their radar.
All right, well,
Yeah.
it's a difficult one.
I agree.
Okay. Let's go on to item 3 on the agenda. This is just a repeat from what was in the November 21st, which is our last meeting agenda. And I just want to make sure we keep some principles in mind, that the resolutions we should strive to make them acceptable to all the municipalities, because there's strength here in a unified front. Secondly, the paper and proposed resolutions, is what I said earlier here, should focus on what issues the municipalities recommend should be addressed as part of the public review process, for example, the master plan's public review process. And if they've already being addressed, we should just reinforce that. I think that's what we talked about a little bit earlier, and we have to keep that in mind. We're not looking to raise confrontation. If we agree with them, we want to tell them we agree with them. And we should make sure we state clearly what we want the county government to do. So, because that's, I think, these are my thoughts. But if other people have other thoughts, we can talk about it now, or you can just come back and say, add this to the agenda next time, whatever you want to do. Okay, so come back to me if you have other thoughts on that issue. Okay, the fourth point here, and this was really my observation of Martha's torment as I began to think of it back in the fall. I think we have to have a more disciplined process of having, and my proposal is when a person produces a draft, it goes to the 4 members of the executive committee, which is, for example, Nick, me, Peter, and Michael. And these people commit to get back to the author within a week or so with their comments. And if the author says, wait a minute, you people are saying different things, then we convene a phone call among the various parties to kind of resolve those differences. Because I had the idea, Martha, people were just winging things into you, and it wasn't organized at all.
That's all right. I think handled it, but it would be easier if it had a chance to sort of adjudicate those comments all in one place instead of lots of emails.
I think so. Does anyone think this is a good suggestion or a bad suggestion, or wants to modify the suggestion?
Well, when would they be circulated to the rest of us, to the committee? Would they, at the same time they come to you, or after you've done your review and
Oh, okay,
repair of the
that's-
document?
that's a good question, because my thinking was, the people who put the paper together have looked at it, and then the other 4 people will look at it. We could then also circulate it to everyone else, but I don't know, how many reviewers do we really need?
Oh, I mean, obviously the whole committee is going to be interested.
Right.
But it's fine from my perspective if the rest of us wait until the 4 on the executive committee do their review and then we see, version number 2, edition number 2. That's okay. I was just curious when the rest of us would see the papers.
Good point, good point. Anybody else have thoughts about that? I mean, I was trying to keep it manageable, but you're right, everyone who isn't involved in the paper itself or on the executive committee still has to go back to their municipality and say, I endorse this.
Yeah.
Right, and not just from that standpoint, but we may have comments or questions because we've all thought about each other's issues a fair amount. We participated in the meeting with April,
Right.
so we now know enough to be dangerous. And I think it could be helpful to have a different perspective from other committee members. So whether that happens at the first draft or the second draft, it's whatever you in the committee decide, in the executive committee. It's up to you.
I don't think you need to do it, John. I think you can distribute these to everybody as long as you give a very clear and concise date when they have to have comments back.
Yeah.
And everybody has to live by those dates.
Yeah.
Right. I
that
think
may
that's
be-
great. And
that may
then
be a
comments
good
all go
idea.
back to one person. If it's somebody in the executive committee or the author, again, as Nick was saying, just be specific about when they're due and who they go to,
Right.
and who's incorporating them.
I mean, obviously you need to give enough time for people to react, but you don't want to give them too much time either. So
Right.
something in like a week time or something would be.
I think a week is fine.
Yeah.
Because these aren't 50-page papers, they're 7, 8 pages. Everybody can find time in a week to review that much, right?
As long as they're not
the-
78 pages, right?
Yeah, as long as they're not 78.
Okay. That's a good idea. So I think we can do it that way. We gotta I'll write something different for the next meeting to kind of clarify that, or maybe get it out between meetings so people can comment. But I think that would work better. I think that could work better because we do need people who wouldn't be involved in that process to support it to their municipalities.
Right.
Okay. Well, we moved through this pretty efficiently, guys. Let's face it. Okay, any other business people want to raise?
No?
No? Okay. Well, I think we should have another meeting in February. One of the problems we had with, let's talk about this, because Greg sends out these doodle polls. Now, the one for this meeting was sent out soon after the November meeting. And people who said they were going to be here tonight had conflicts at the end. I'm wondering maybe we shouldn't have such a lead time when we're talking about what the date should be.
Can we just
Well,
try to have like the first Wednesday of the month or whatever, and just like stick with that, and it is what it is?
We could, or where are we today? Well, this is our first meeting ever on a Monday.
Yeah, I think whatever it is, I think if you plan in advance, most people can do it, right? I mean,
Right.
and the doodle polls are annoying.
So no doodle poll at all, just pick a date, but we just don't know who. I think we need to do the doodle poll as well.
Yeah, because some people have other committee meetings that
Right.
like are the first Wednesday of the month or?
I mean, I
So
know
could we do
Bob-
like a poll just to figure out what the regular schedule would be? I mean,
Well, guys, we only have 2 more months.
Yeah, I think we
We
can't.
got to wrap this up in March. We
Yeah,
can't go
I
on
would
forever
think
here.
so. So why don't, I think for this for the next meeting, why don't we ask Greg in another week or so to send out a doodle poll for the week of February 10th? That's before the vacation of President's Day. Because I know, Rybrook has a number of meetings on Mondays. Some other people, I think maybe you, Nick, because you're on the planning board, that's typically a Tuesday meeting. So, I mean, there are dates which frequently don't work for people. All right, is that okay with everyone? We'll try the week of February 10th, see what happens.
Great.
As long as it's not Monday, that's the only thing.
Yeah, oh, okay. All right, good. And, well, okay, we started late, but we got through pretty efficiently, I think. I don't have anything further to add. Does anyone?
No,
Okay, well, thank you all very much.
you.
And
thank you, John.
talk to Greg and get the poll out.
Okay, great.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.